Special thanks to Spencer Hall of EverydayShouldBeSaturday.com for joining us in that last segment to break down this weekend's college football slate of matchup, and specifically this LSU-Florida matchup. Derek Panamsky and Jordy Culotta in for Matt Moscone on this Friday edition of After Further Review on 104.5 ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge. Proud to welcome in our next guest, Ryen Russillo of the Scott Van Pelt Show. You hear him every day leading up into After Further Review from 12 to 3 Central Time on ESPN Radio. He's in Baton Rouge. He went live today from Walk-Ons. Ryen, thanks for joining us. How's the experience been so far, bud?
It's been great, man. This is one of my favorite places to stop on the road. I was last year, 08, when Stevens returned, and one thing about this place is I don't know how you people stay sober. I don't know how you don't weigh 300 pounds. And if there's ever a fan base that has the fastest recovery time after a loss, it's always this one. I mean, that Bama loss in 08 was a gutting loss, and yet 15 minutes later you would have thought you clinched the SEC. So you guys have some serious recuperative powers.
Yeah, Jared Lee, 2008, throwing that interception in overtime. Yep. Tough loss that night for Alabama. Let's talk about this LSU team and your impressions of it through the first 5 games of the season. Ryen, Jordan Jefferson back with the squad now from an offensive standpoint. Jared Lee stepped in and done everything Coach Miles and the staff has asked him to do, winning on the road in big-time spots. From a national scene, what's your impressions of this Tiger squad?
Well, everybody knows it starts with that defense, and, you know, I'd like to ask all of our guys that really break down film, would you take LSU, would you take Bama's defense? I think people like maybe the discipline of Bama more, but I love the chaos that this LSU defense has. I think they're faster than everybody else, they're more athletic, and that Oregon team has been loading teams up every single week. Did an unbelievable job of making them look like they didn't know what they were doing on offense. And the funny thing about your teams over the years, especially on that D-line, like I have to watch the games with the roster up because I just lose track of who all these big nasty dudes are. You know, whether it's Montgomery or Johnson, I know who doesn't start, but he comes in, the young kid. I mean, you guys know all the names of these guys, but that defense is just so sick. I mean, we didn't really know. We knew about Matthew, but we didn't know he'd be this kind of guy, and it seems like they're just waiting outside of the stadium to come on in and start playing for you. So it's a defense I would take over everyone else.
Let me make one comment. Yeah, Chip Kelly, after the Oregon game, commented, our athletes just don't look like these guys, watching them from a field level. Ryen Russillo of ESPN Radio joining us here on After Further Review. Jordy Culotta and Derek Panamsky here on this Friday afternoon. Ryan's in town and will be live on location tomorrow at Walk-Ons from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. tomorrow with ESPN Radio. Make sure and come see the stage, all the festivities going on for a normal game weekend as far as Walk-Ons is concerned. They're always bringing a good time, as Ryan was over there today broadcasting his show. Ryan, this Florida squad on the other side of the ball, bringing a true freshman quarterback in Jeff Driscoll, of course, came in the spring, so has the experience in the system with Charlie Weiss a little bit longer than the true freshmen on campus, but definitely a tough spot for a kid to get his first start in college football.
Yeah, good luck with this. I mean, he looked like he was petrified last week at home. And, you know, it's a little different, too, I think, when you're all of a sudden it's like, hey, dude, you're playing. So that's not exactly the greatest way to prepare. So he is supposed to be preparing. But this is a weird thing, man. We were talking about this. We were talking with some guys just about an hour ago that know the Florida program pretty well. And they're saying Driscoll wasn't practicing at all. So I don't know what's going to happen with this team and who's actually – I don't know how much Driscoll's actually going to play. And that's crazy if who's behind it. Tyler Murphy is actually from Connecticut. Was offered it. Apparently, Urban Meyer loved him, and Meyer decided to give him an offer. And people were like, "I can't believe they went and got this." More adoption. Urban Meyer kind of running his spread, which isn't there anymore. So the curious, still can't play a lot.
Hey, Ryan, let me break in real quick, man. I'm sorry, we're losing you. You're in a bad cell. Obviously, you're coming in and out, and we want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to send you to the other side of the glass with my producer and see if we can't get you up in a good cell area and continue the conversation. Ryen Russillo of ESPN Radio joining us here on After Further Review. Jordy Culotta and Derek Panamsky in for Matt Moscone. Of course, Scone calling the Catholic High broadcast tonight, which follows Louisiana Prep Preview. Got a text coming in. You guys, we can hear you when you're whispering to each other on the air. Well, talk radio on the run here. We're juggling guests, so sorry about the whispers out there. We'll try to make sure and kick our mute button in when when we're talking back and forth to each other. But Derek, talking about the true freshman in Driscoll is going to get a lot of ink, but that was some information there that's coming out that Driscoll may not have been practicing, or Russillo says that guys that are connected to the Florida program that he hasn't been practicing. Man, that's a nice nugget of news.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think that from Will Muschamp's perspective, he's got to win a big game this year to kind of get some momentum going with that program. And after losing the Alabama game, he's got to do something here. So, hopefully, we'll see exactly what happens tomorrow afternoon.
Let's bring Ryen Russillo back in of ESPN Radio. Ryan, hopefully got you in a better cell area, but you were talking about Jeff Driscoll and this freshman quarterback and guys that you had talked to connected to the Gator program that he had been out of practice. That was a nice nugget of news that you were discussing upon.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are saying that he really hadn't been practicing much, and there's a kid behind him, Murphy, who's a freshman from Connecticut, who's more of an option guy that Urban Meyer liked, that apparently, is Charlie White's going to start running some version of a spread if Driscoll can't go? I mean, I'm not trying to report that Driscoll can't go tomorrow, but, I mean, it's a bad quarterback situation already, which can be even more confusing if you see a kid from Connecticut out there, Murphy, who's originally the third stringer. Now, some people were saying if he had been there earlier, he'd been ahead of Driscoll anyway, but it's just a bad spot. I mean, any way you want to do the math on this, it's funny, and one of the things I think nationally people were really overreacting about the Florida offense was, Brantley throws a couple dump passes down to Rainey and gets Demps going, and we know how fast they are, but those weren't necessarily them making plays. It was just, some bad defensive stuff you saw against Tennessee, and Bama had shut them down before, and then everybody's saying, Demps and Rainey, these guys are going to go nuts on Bama, and they didn't. It was like 14 carries combined for like 11 yards. It was terrible.
Right.
They did nothing against them, so I don't know. Like when people talk about this Florida offense, I know how fast those guys are. I know how great they are in space if you can get them going. But against a really good defense, which LSU has, I don't think LSU looks at that and says, oh, no, we're scared because they don't have a quarterback and two guys that are fast.
Ryen Russillo is our guest on After Further Review. Yeah, Ryan, when you think about the aura that is the Les Miles kind of mystique right now, you can almost like point it like a laser to when you guys were at the Swamp last year, calling him a wizard, joking with the shoes and everything, because it almost seemed, at least for those of us, here in the market who are around him all the time, that up to that point in time, nationally, he was still kind of misunderstood. I mean, he's still misunderstood. I guess he'll always be misunderstood, but it seemed as though after that game, it kind of turned a corner in terms of national perception. What's it been like dealing with Les? Because, around here, maybe it's just one of those forest from the trees deals where we just see him so much. What's the national perspective from where you are?
Wow, I feel like this is one of those things in radio you're afraid you're going to talk too long.
Well, it was one of these deals where I feel like James Lipton with a big stack of blue cards asking you this question, but
right.
it's kind of where it came from.
Well, all right, let me try to phrase it at least from how I saw it. Like, I would talk with some LSU people early on with Les, and I'd be like, well, how do you guys feel about him? And they all seem to kind of shrug and be like, well, as long as he keeps winning national titles. I mean, the dude won a national title, and it seemed like the fan base was still annoyed with him and mad that he wasn't Saban. And, look, I get loving Nick Saban. Who wouldn't love to have him as a coach? But
right.
Les basically had the same kind of success. But it just always seemed to be this reluctant thing to buy in because he was so different. He was odd. And let's face it, we thought his luck was just going to run out. I mean, I'd watch these plays on Saturday, and I'd be like, you got to be kidding me. That's just dumb football. There's no way this stuff's going to work. And, you look at that Ole Miss game, and I remember being on the air going, you got to be kidding me with this stuff. And then I was on the sidelines in Gainesville last year. And Stanford Steve, who's our producer, we reference him all the time. He played football at Stanford. He and I are watching that game break down, and we start laughing uncontrollably. We're actually on the Florida sideline, which I'm sure they were psyched about. And we're just, we're not rooting for anybody. We're just going, you've got to be kidding me with this stuff. And I'll give Steve credit because he turned to me and goes, people can say whatever they want about this guy, but at least he's trying to win every single game. There's not a coach in America that will go at whatever length or do whatever he needs to do. There's not a coach like Les as far as, do I want to win this game? And there's plenty of them that just want to make the score look okay. And that dude is always trying to win. And I don't know how much Van Pelt and I had to do with it from a national standpoint. I think Andy Staples from Sports Illustrated, we were out with him, and he'd even said, like, his way of thinking is just beyond something we can comprehend. And we just started calling him a wizard and all this stuff. And I don't know. Like, I like him. We were just at his office. I took a picture of me at his desk pretending I was going through his papers trying to figure out the game plan, and I asked him if I could do it. And he laughed and said, go ahead, don't steal anything. I mean, I'd be afraid to even ask Nick Saban something like that.
Oh, you wouldn't be allowed in the office.
Idiot.
Right.
Right, exactly. And I've talked to Saban a few times, but I don't know, man. I mean, there's something about Les that I think you can see how hard his guys play for him. I think people like him now. I don't know. I mean, you guys are down here. I feel like the local fan base has accepted him more, but I think nationally people have stopped trying. Like, maybe you guys have accepted him, but I think we just stopped trying to figure him out. And it's just going, all right, man, all he does is win.
Yeah, when you talked about the Michigan job popping up last year and his flirtation with it again for the second time, you could see a lot of reservation on the fans' face whether he was going to take it. After all the noise that had been talked about him here locally, people were still holding on and yearning that Les would stay. Of course, his recruiting speaks for itself with the youth and the talent on the field early. But, Ryan, let's stick with the Les Miles topic, and I heard you and Scott Van Pelt talk about it last week with the piece coming out of CBSSports.com with some NFL franchises interested in Les and talking about how hot of a commodity he was. And I heard the really kind of the shock in your voice when you were talking about it, and us down here really never took it serious. What are your thoughts on Les Miles moving to the NFL and his effectiveness at that next level if he were to make the jump?
Well, let's face it, the track record has been really bad over the last 15 years for college coaches making the jump to the NFL. Maybe Harbaugh turns things around. I'm going to wait a little bit longer than 4 games in. And, I don't know what's going to happen with Carroll in Seattle. It's not off to a great start. But I think it'd be a total disaster because I don't think he would be appreciated in the NFL. I'm not saying he can't coach. I'm not saying he can't figure this stuff out. I think most of these guys at this level, especially in the SEC, they can figure out stuff like, okay, maybe we need a block there and let's make this adjustment on defense. Like, I don't know that stuff is really, really hard to figure out. But I think his personality, and you're right with the recruiting. I mean, this guy can't be connecting to people. If he wasn't connecting to people, then he wouldn't be loaded with the kind of talent he is year after year. And I think that would be an asset that would be completely wasted in the NFL.
Right.
The NFL is weird, man. The NFL is like all of a sudden everybody hates everything, and then one team does something different, and now everybody likes it. So, remember, it's an article that was written. It got a lot of play because people thought, wow. A couple of years ago, I was trying to guess what Les Miles' next job would be after he was gone from here because I didn't know if it was ever going to work out. But, I guess, look, if you won a national title this year, people would be interested because that's what happens when you're successful.
Great. Ryen Russillo, live on location tomorrow, 11 till 6, ESPN Radio. Ryan, man, from a young radio guy, I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to working with you guys tomorrow. And I'd love to get some Pulse of the Nation going out, but I can't put you on the spot. But tomorrow, man, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Well, get some sleep because it is a long day. But yeah, you're right. The Pulse of the Nation thing can only be done when the other guy's around.
That's right, man. Well, as radio hosts in a great radio market down here, we really appreciate the segment. Ryen Russillo, ESPN Radio. Thanks for your time, man.
Hey, and thanks to you and all your fans because I tell you, LSU treats us about as well as anyone does on the country. So thanks again.
There it is, Ryen Russillo, ESPN Radio, live on location tomorrow at Walk-Ons, 11 to 6. Get out and